Welcome to this new video about Forza Horizon 5. As you know, the game was released a few days ago on PlayStation 5 after launching on this new platform. It has really revived the community and the players. Because players are motivated to play Forza Horizon 5 again, they've started some rumors about the game. And there's one that keeps coming up a lot, which is Japan for Forza Horizon 6. In today's video, I'll examine this rumor by reviewing the community's arguments and evidence. Horizon 6 is rumored to be set on a map in Japan. In this video, we'll discuss arguments suggesting Forza Horizon 5 is set in Japan. And one of the arguments we see most often on social media. A common argument is that Forza Horizon 5 has no choice due to competition. Indeed, for several years now, there's really been a hype around Japan. All the players are asking for games set in Japan. A few years ago, developers of various games began modeling maps of Japan for their video games. This year, two major titles are releasing in Japan: Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ghost of Yoti. That isn't related to racing games, but for years there's been major hype about Japan and racing games. Why? Simply because of Japanese car culture, all the Japanese domestic market cars from the 80s and 90s, but also for drifting, for illegal racing clubs like the Wangan, for example. Or of course for customizations, body kits, Japanese-style tuning, and of course everything that comes with it. A somewhat Japanese-style road with big mountains, winding paths, and massive ultra-modern cities. Well, believe it or not, that didn't fall on deaf ears. Since we've had a lot of racing games, a bit more independent, that have come out or been announced in recent years, all of which take place in Japan. There was Night Runners, which takes place on the Japanese highway around Tokyo. There was Togue Attack, which is a special game about the Togue. It's a blend of time attack and drifting in Japan's Shikai Mountains, following the same principle. There was obviously Tokyo Extreme Racer, which came out a few weeks ago and also takes place on the highways of Tokyo. In a few days, Japanese Drift Master will be released, and it also takes place in Japan, even if it's in a fictional province. In the game The Crew Motorfest, the two most popular playlists are the Made in Japan playlists. Overdrift Festival offers a map in Japan, and Carrick Street was also inspired by Japan for its main map. And even on Horizon 5, players want a map in Japan so much that they started making maps in Japan themselves, through the Event Lab system. So there's really a huge hype around Japanese maps in racing games for several years now. Since many others besides Forza are interested, Forza risks losing a lot if they let the Japanese opportunity go to competitors. A second argument that we see a lot, and even more so since the game arrived on PlayStation 5, is the car list of Forza Horizon 5. And the selection, let's say a strange choice of certain car models in the game, could be used as a teaser. Secretly in Forza Horizon 5, the arrival of Japan in Forza Horizon 6. You should know this has happened before and was confirmed, especially in Forza Horizon 4. Remember that one of the last cars added to the game was the Vool. At the time, we didn't know Forza Horizon 5 would be set in Mexico, and Vool is one of the few Mexican sports car brands. It made you wonder why this car was in Forza Horizon 4 since it seemed out of place. In the end, we understood. A few months later, during the Forza Horizon 5 reveal in Mexico, it was revealed as a subtle nod. Well, there are quite a few nods like that in Forza Horizon 5. There are plenty of little oddities, let's put it that way. For example, at Toyota, you'll find the Toyota Sour 2.5 Gran Turismo among their 90s car models. Here, I set it up in drift. But this car is actually exactly the same model as the 1997 Lexus Sport Coupe 300, which we already had in the base game. The Toyota Sour shown here was added to the game just a few months ago in an update. Interestingly, the Forza Horizon 5 developers are known for reusing as many assets as possible. From one game to another, and even between cars in the game, they chose not to reuse the 3D assets from the Lexus Sport Coupe 300 for this Sour, even though it's actually the same car. The developers preferred to start from scratch and completely rescan a Toyota Sour in 3D. Interestingly, the Toyota Sour is just the Japanese version of the Lexus Sport Coupe 300es. You could say that they might have made a greater effort to model this car, with the aim of reusing these new 3D assets as the base car for Forza Horizon 6. But that's not the only odd thing at all. For example, when we look at Nissan, we'll find the Nissan Stagea, which is really, let's say, a specialty of Japan. In any case, it's something that's really appreciated over there. It's the face swap, since with this car, you can actually put a Nissan Skyline R34 front end on it. With body kits, you can do that. And that's really strange because it's mainly a Japanese thing. Let's continue with the list of oddities, since in the game, the developers also modeled cars. Kit cars are tiny cars, like the Autozan you see here. Really small cars that have very specific dimensions. And kit cars were specifically designed by Japanese brands like Nissan and Toyota to comply with regulations in major Japanese cities, especially in Tokyo. Because these small cars in big cities can benefit from reduced insurance costs and various tax breaks. Kit cars sell quickly in Japan, but they're only available there. That means the cars you see here, like the Automazam AZ1 for example, are really typical examples of cars you can only find in Japan. And it feels especially out of place in Forza Horizon 5, which is still set in Mexico. Most importantly, this is what started the recent rumors. It was the car I used at the start of the video. A new car pack has been added, the Nissan pack, which contains 4 Nissans from the 80s and 90s, like the Escargot or the Piao, which we recently tested in a video. They're really fun because you can add huge engines even though they're very lightweight. These 4 cars you see here are 4 Japanese Nissan exclusives that were never officially sold anywhere outside of Japan. And regarding this downloadable content, there's actually quite a lot to say. Because first of all, if the goal was to make a really profitable downloadable content, what would have been the point? What would the benefit have been for Forza Horizon 5 playground games and Xbox to select models that are extremely niche and obscure? Even though these cars are fun, we know paid downloadable content car packs like those not in the Team Head Car Pass generally sell well. Because inside, there's always at least one ultra sports car or a very hyped car that excites the community. Here, out of the 4 models, most of them are completely unknown to the general public. And since, in general, it's quite rare for the developers of Forza Horizon to try to satisfy a very specific niche of players, these cars don't really have their place in Forza Horizon 5. Especially when you know that, to model them, the developers had to go to the Nissan Museum. We can't find them in Europe. The developers went to Japan, to the official Nissan Museum, to scan these cars. So, did the developers go to Japan just to model these Nissans? Did they have something else in mind? It's too early to say, but this pack only adds ultra-niche Japanese cars that were unknown here, and risk this being the final paid pack for Forza Horizon. $5 for these cars. In this context, it's still pretty weird. Another strange thing about Forza and Japan, you have to look at Forza Motorsport for that. It hasn't happened in the game yet, but we know that in May, so right now, Forza Motorsport will get an update in a few days adding Fujimi Kaido. Fujimi Kaido is a mountain, a track that we already had in previous Forza Motorsport games, especially Forza Motorsport 4. It's largely inspired by Mount Fuji, those famous mountains with small winding roads perfect for Tuge. This track is coming back to Forza Motorsport in May, and we haven't seen it in a Forza game for over 10 years. It's been 14 years since it last appeared in a Motorsport 4 in 2011. And it's literally been 14 years that the community has been spamming the Forza forums to get Fujimi Kaido back in a Forza game. And strangely, it's only coming back now, almost 15 years later, in a game that, honestly, doesn't have a lot of hype around Forza Motorsport, which still seems to show that even in the Forza studios, there's a very strong interest in Japan, and that we're no longer opposed at all to bringing back tracks. Let's say, tracks with a bit of an open-world feel in Japan for a Forza game. Let's just say that announcing this a few weeks before the Xbox E3 2025, where Forza Horizon 6 could be announced, is yet another strange thing. For me, there's one argument I've seen on some forums that I find really crappy. Maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of people are saying that, actually, the partnership is with Forza Sony to release the PlayStation 5 version of the game. It's simply a way to soften up Japanese politicians and the government a bit to get permission to make a Forza in Japan. PlayStation is owned by Sony, a Japanese company. When making a game in Japan, you need various agreements from local authorities and government, just like anywhere else. You can't make a game in a country and represent its culture without the government getting involved. Many believe Xbox's move to get closer to Sony is linked to Forza Horizon 5 launching on PlayStation 5. It's seen as a way to show goodwill to the Japanese government by boosting Sony. making it easier to secure rights for Forza Horizon 6 in Japan. Let me know in the comments what you think of this argument. I find it a bit far-fetched, but everyone has their own perspective. Finally, he has another big argument. In this case, I actually find it pretty credible, which is to look at what has already been done in the past. On the map side, let's anticipate the next maps in Forza Horizon 6. Of the 5 Forza games so far, 2 Forza Horizon titles have been set in America. The first was in Colorado, the 5th here in Mexico, both in America. 2 were in Europe. Forza Horizon 2 was set in southern France and northern Italy, while Horizon 4 took place in Scotland. And we had Oceania with Australia in Forza Horizon 3. For the next one, they have several options. They could return to Europe, which would make it the 3rd Forza Horizon in Europe out of 6 games, which is quite a lot. Or they return to America for a 3rd time, planning to create another Forza in North America. That could be appealing as a Forza Horizon 1 nod. It would still be the same continent as in Forza Horizon 1 and Forza Horizon 5. We could return to Australia, but that would be odd, since Horizon 3's Australia already felt unusual, even though it's the best Forza Horizon map. It was an odd choice. So the developers might be revisiting a place they've explored before. And, well, it's a bit strange for all the reasons we just mentioned. It would still be very repetitive. Or they turn to continents they haven't really explored yet. There are 2 then, Africa and Asia. So why not a Forza Horizon in Africa? Many countries have beautiful landscapes, but there's a minor issue with a map in Africa. The thing is, there isn't really a well-known African car brand, and there isn't a widespread African car culture either. For example, there isn't a well-known sporty African car brand. There's no specific tuning style or unique driving method. So, even if we could have some crazy landscapes, it would seem a little bit strange. And finally, there's Asia, which includes Japan, and there's a pretty huge hype around it. It has to be said. So, it has to be said as well. The next Forza Horizon could take place in Asia, but not necessarily in Japan. There has still been a lot of hype about China in recent years, especially with the whole transition we're experiencing to electric cars. The Chinese are extremely ahead in that area. So the developers could decide that electric cars are part of Chinese car culture and decide that it's a good place for the next Forza. Let's remember the developers tried to attract Chinese Forza Horizon players in Horizon 4 and 5 by adding Chinese cars like the Wuling. There is still a problem with all this, which is that in China, unless I'm mistaken, I think younger players are extremely restricted. So, first of all, I think not all games are released in China. Additionally, there's a daily legal limit on video game playtime. So, attracting Chinese players could be interesting for developers, up to a certain point. And so, to finish, of course, there's Japan, which I think would probably be extremely popular for all the reasons we've mentioned earlier. So Asia and Japan are credible, but what's also quite interesting is to look as well, as I was saying, at what happened in Forza's past. Because actually, there's something on every Forza. There have been DLCs, and every downloadable content that came out for the game always implemented a feature, which was actually secretly a teaser. A little wink, a teaser for the next Forza Horizon. For example, in Forza Horizon 2, we got the Storm Island downloadable content, but more importantly, it offered players a really exotic tropical map with truly extreme weather, which was quite a contrast with the base game that took place in Europe and didn't have such advanced weather effects. A few months later, Forza Horizon 3 launched with even more advanced weather effects and a highly tropical map, and in which off-road driving was taken much further than in Forza Horizon 2. In Forza Horizon 3, we got Blizzard Mountain as a downloadable content. It was a small map, but for the first time in Forza's history, we had snow. Since Blizzard Mountain took place in the mountains, there was snow everywhere. And this snow system, which was appreciated by players, was then reused in Forza Horizon 4 with the season system. In Forza Horizon 4, we had Fortnite Island and the horrible LEGO expansion. In the LEGO expansion, there was a system that allowed you to progress by collecting bricks, which is actually exactly the same system, if you take a step back, as the accolades now. In Forza Horizon 4 LEGO, we completed small challenges to earn bricks and build our LEGO house. It's the same principle and challenge with the same menus, but instead of unlocking LEGO, you earn money, cars, or achievement points. Forza Horizon 4 Island was the first time a real high mountain appeared in a Forza Horizon game. It was also the first time this mountain gave us a large drift zone with many winding roads. Most importantly, Pioneer Mode debuted, and all of it was reused in Forza Horizon 5. Look at this area. It's just like Fortnite Island, only more advanced. We have a very high mountain, we have the largest drift zone in Forza's history, with extremely winding roads, and the return of the Pioneers. So far, we still have a pattern. Each downloadable content introduced something new, which was then used more extensively in the next Forza Horizon as part of its base game. And now, in Forza Horizon 5, what do we have? There's the Hot Wheels excitement with the volcano. And Japan has nearly 10 famous volcanoes. And above all, we got the Rally Adventures map, which is honestly, I think, one of the best downloadable content maps we've had in Forza Horizon. Even if the rest of the downloadable content is lame, the cars aren't good, and the new game mode is bad. There's still something pretty interesting about Rally Adventures, which is that we have roads that are much more winding, with elevation changes that are much quicker than on the base map of Forza Horizon 5. Hairpin turns and narrow winding roads everywhere. If we take a step back and use a little imagination, it's easy to picture these same roads in Japanese mountains. Inspired by Toge, imagine Forza Horizon 6 releases in late 2025 or 2026. It's entirely possible that the game's developers use this little test map to get an idea of what players thought. Tighter roads, so they'd have enough time to adjust their route or not. For Forza Horizon 6 in Japan, that's a lot of elements all pointing toward Japan, but that doesn't necessarily mean it will be Japan. Personally, I still have a theory. I think it's more likely to be Germany. But honestly, what I have to say is that I think, like many other Forza Horizon players, the place where it happens, we don't care. As long as we have an interesting map to explore and a beautiful place to visit, I think Forza Horizon could take place anywhere. We actually don't care. What matters is having a map that's more varied, less empty and desert-like, with more elevation changes than Forza Horizon 5. And we'll have a banger, plain and simple. So it's up to you to tell me what you think about these little arguments and bits of evidence in the comments. If you have others, or if, on the contrary, you think it's completely off, don't hesitate to say so as well.